I'm actually going to do this one myself, because it's one of my favorite subjects, which is the impact of technology on entertainment. We've got an amazing crew. I'm going to sit here. So Xavier, you can sit here. We got one Xavier, two Jims, and a Bob. And that probably tells you which countries everybody is from, respectively. Everybody get, okay, there we go. I'm going to move my chair a little and be a bad boy so I can see. I'll go from the far end. That's Jim number 1, Jim Gianopulos, 16-year veteran, now chairman of Fox Films, which is still in the 20th century, am I right? You guys didn't, when the rest of the company went 21st, you stayed 20th. What was the thinking of that, just out of curiosity? Oh wait, everybody, you got to get mics, here.
Well, the thinking was that it's a brand, and it's a brand that people have known for, well, 85 years as 20th Century Fox, 100 years as Fox Film, and it just didn't feel right. It wasn't based on the century, it was based on the legacy of a great film company. So we just decided to stay with it.
Was it a long discussion?
Actually, well, it was a discussion. For us, It wasn't a very long discussion. There was such a heritage of films and so many great logos that we would have had to change, so it didn't make any sense.
Now, Jim Breyer, from eponymous Breyer Capital now, but Jim has a great story. He got his first job at Apple Computer by writing a letter to Steve Jobs on paper and mailing it, and he got a letter. Is that right?
Absolutely.
And then decided that marketing wasn't as much. Is your mic on? Try it again. Check that mic. Just talk into it and see if.
Is it okay?
Apple 1 2 3.
Okay,
Apple 1 2 3.
So and then decided better go to business school, became a VC, and ran across a little investment in a company called Facebook at 5 cents a share. What's Facebook now?
It's little more than that.
And it's probably split once.
No
it
split.
hasn't split, but okay.
So it's the 5 cent
5 cents or whatever it
share
is now. You can guess what the multiple is.
Where it's trading today.
But at the same time, he's also had a side interest in the entertainment business. And so, for instance, I mean, most of you here may not know Legendary Pictures, a startup movie company, which is something people actually, you can do it. They did it. And they just sold it for almost $4 billion to a Chinese investment company. So that's a not bad exit either. Then next, Bob Pittman, who has...
How do I get an exit like that? You guys have all this success, and I'm up here with you. Gosh.
Bob has the craziest, in addition to having a voice made for radio, he started in radio, then went through television, MTV. What most people, if you say in the media business, say Bob Pittman, MTV, you do word association. He created MTV, ran it through the 80s, then went to AOL, went to Time Warner, and ended up as AOL's, and then real estate, theme parks, and investing, and then back finally into the radio business with a company called Clear Channel, which is the biggest radio company in the US by far in every possible audience.
Formerly Clear Channel.
Formerly Clear Channel. I forgot. Now iHeartMedia. And why did you change that name, just out of curiosity?
Because what Clear Channel was not what we were. We had changed the company so much, added so much, that we had to spend the first 20 minutes of every discussion saying we're not who you think we are. So the last time I changed the name of a company, I changed the name of Warner MX Satellite Entertainment Corporation to our best-known brand, MTV Networks. So we did the same thing. We had iHeartRadio, was much better known than Clear Channel.
But Clear Channel still exists, right? I'm not 100%
We use it as the
wrong.
outdoor brand.
Okay, got it. Okay. And then finally, now Xavier, tell us a little about PMU. It's racing, betting in venues, in television, and you control all of France.
Yeah, it's a racing and betting company. It's the first betting website in France, third e-commerce website in France, and we have also outlets, 30,000 outlets in France, when you can bet on horse races. Right. The website can bet on poker, sport races. We have TV. We have sports on horse to present to our clients.
Okay. I'm going to just dial things back a little bit. We were in the green room getting ready for this, and Bob Pittman spun out this macro trend that I thought would be a really good way to start this discussion. So why don't I just roll the tape on this one?
Well, I think I'm one of those people that think all of these trends we see are tied together through something big that's happening. And I think what's big that's happening is that in America, for the past 75 years, everybody expected to have a job. And they basically could get a job. Today, there is a growing sense, whether it's real or not, we can all get in a debate, that we're actually destroying more jobs than we're creating. If that's so, we have to figure out, do people either go through a revolution, or does society reform in ways that accommodate that, so that you've got a couple of adults working and a couple of people sort of in the group. And I think what we're beginning to see the signs of that in this sharing economy.
And the rest of people making movies for everyone to watch with all their spare time.
Oh, by the way, they're making, some of them spend their time making user-created content instead of a job, if you will. That suddenly we're going on Kickstarter to kick my idea off as opposed to traditionally a job. We're beginning to live together in all these new boarding houses, if you will, where you're paying to be in a community.
But wait, who's going to pay for all this fabulous entertainment?
Well, I think the key is, if you do this group, what used to happen was, out of 10 people, maybe 2 or 3 adults worked at a time.
Right.
The rest of the people sort of helped everybody else out. Then those 2 or 3 people had a job, the others didn't, they sort of helped out. And it began, they shared cars, they shared whatever they had.
This
and the
is
question is,
really
how do they
hippie,
share
this is
into
sounding
entertainment?
Really
Communist.
hippy-dippy,
It's communist,
communist,
right? Yeah, exactly.
Does the capitalist wing of our panel have anything to say to that? I mean,
I had this theory in 1968, actually, when I was at Boston University. It didn't quite evolve the way I thought, but I understand what Bob is saying, and I do think there is truth to certain elements of what he's saying in the following context. You know, I started to think, coming to this panel, about that famous statement, content is king, and there's been a long-standing debate about who said it first. You know, some people thought Bill Gates said it, other people said Sumner Redstone said it. I actually went online and read, and it goes back and forth. And what's interesting about that is, if you think about it, Bill Gates said it from the technology side, and Sumner said it from the content side. What makes that really interesting is they're on other sides of the coin, but they really converge, and in the following way. Content is king, but what's happened, and really one element of what Bob is alluding to, is that the audience has ultimately gotten the democracy. So content may be king, but technology has democratized it. And so the ultimate vote, the ultimate choice, the ultimate decision resides with the audience. And technology has enabled it to be more accessible, more facile, more available. And then we have to figure out...
more free sometimes, too.
And more free. So there was an article in the Wall Street Journal yesterday, it was very interesting, where Taylor Swift, who's become the voice of the music community, was talking about YouTube and how the payment system now on YouTube results in 0.08 of a penny for each performance, which I calculated, which means that, and this goes to Bob's point, and an issue that has to be resolved, we can go talk about other things after this, which means that if her song is played 1 million times, YouTube sends her record company $800, which then the record company takes some, the publisher takes some, her manager takes some, and she buys a Starbucks on the way home. So that system doesn't work, even though it's a democratized system, and it's the modern day version of MTV that Bob created very successfully and created this phenomenon many years ago. So I think what we have to figure out is...
It's MTV without a business model.
Well, so how do you figure out how to enable democracy, which is a audience democracy, and content democracy, which is a fantastic idea, and economic viability, which is a reality?
Now, Jim Breyer, you're kind of the technologist on this panel, for lack of a better word for you. You were talking a lot about how certain very leading edge things like AI can actually help make businesses better. Unpack that a little bit.
You bet. And so I'm on the board of 21st Century Fox.
Right.
And Jim is an outstanding leader and a buddy, so it's great to see Jim in Paris. My investment thesis as we sit here in June 2016 is that investing in the internet in 1995, whether it was media meets technology, and I made an investment and joined the board then of Real Networks Rhapsody, that was a wonderful time to be investing in the internet. In 2005, having turned down a couple of the social networks, in April 2005, I met Mark Zuckerberg and knew at that first meeting I wanted to back Mark, and spent 11 years on the board of Facebook, still a significant shareholder. And 2005, 2006, 2007 were remarkable times to be investing in social networks, and actually Spotify and Daniel Ek, the outstanding entrepreneur, is a company I met here in Europe with an outstanding partner at Axel Partners, Sonali de Rijker. And so a number of media companies that are enabled by technology were formed at that time. Today, as a venture capitalist, investor, as I sit in 2016, artificial intelligence and how it will transform content and the film business, augmented reality, virtual reality, and how it will transform the film entertainment business. 10 years from now, we'll have even more significant wealth creation, stockholder appreciation opportunities than what I believe we saw in social networks in 2005 and internet investing in 1995.
AI is, so far in my experience, is mostly a scary movie plot device rather than a serious element in Hollywood. What does AI do for a film company?
Well, I'll give a very specific set of earlier examples. When I was on the board of Legendary, and Chris Nolan and Thomas Tull were just in the process of rolling out the first trailer, and we applied statistics, machine learning, and a small group of data developers to analyze how that first trailer of Interstellar was received on Facebook, Instagram, and other social networks. We then used that data to inform us on how that second trailer should look and the final trailer. We use those statistics then from Facebook, from other social networks, Instagram, Twitter, and others, as well as proprietary data, to help determine how many theaters
it's a marketing,
should we launch
it's
in.
a marketing aid.
It's marketing, but it's very precise marketing, because what really mattered for us was how many theaters should we open in, where should we open, how should we market, and where 150 million typically might be used for a marketing budget for a large film, narrowing that down to perhaps 100 million and using advanced analytics, artificial intelligence, human-assisted learning with the data from Facebook, Instagram, and others, it's far less costly, far more effective, and one can envision going forward artificial intelligence and some of these technologies informing casting decisions, budgets of movies, and all sorts of aspects and characteristics of Jim's business that will be, I believe, over the next 10 years, revolutionized by artificial intelligence and many of these new technologies.
You know, if I could jump in on this, I think when you think about AI, it's so broad. When we do a radio station, we talked about this backstage, we're really companionship is the content we're offering. I'm your best friend sitting in that empty seat next to you in the car, keeping you company. And we build radio stations in the U.S. because we have an abundance of radio stations as a psychographic group. We find these people who cluster together and we create a format around it. The problem is that as humans, we have to find the patterns in this that hold these people together. AI is much better at that than humans are, and that we'll be able to spot the patterns and understand if I heard two of those songs, I should probably play this song as the third song, because when you play these two and you play the other one, you get to tune out. When you play this one, it's a nice flow and you hang on to the audience. It also informs the personalities. Ryan Seacrest today, let me take you back, 20 years ago when he did his show, he relied on the request lines to tell him whether a topic was hot or not. Today, when you see him doing a show, he's got all the social stuff up. And as he's talking, he's watching the feedback, and he's responding to the feedback, and this live programming takes on a real life. Now, the AI helps you spot those patterns and see where it's going and begin to predict, okay, this is really working, stay on that topic. This fell flat on its face, get rid of it. And it allows you to move through it. And I think the radio shows today are much better as a result of social. As we get some sophisticated algorithms, AI on top of these, helping us translate it, it gets even better and more responsive to the consumer.
Let me get Xavier in this. I mean, the classic horse racing betting was a guy with a couple of dollars or euros went to the window and gave them the bills and got a little paper stub and then took it away, and that was all you knew about him. He could have been anybody. Online, whole different world. You know a lot about him. Online, same with online poker. He's not just a guy sitting at a table anymore. Suddenly he's a human being. You know, he's back again. How much do you guys use these kinds of data techniques for what you do?
Well, that's true that with new technologies, I'm a very, very happy chairman and CEO because my business is totally fit for new technologies. When you bet online on your mobile phone, you need images, you need datas, few datas if you are a newcomer, or very sophisticated datas if you are a huge punter, and you need financial transactions, and you need to bet where you are, so that all new technologies can really improve the act of betting. But also in the retail network, we could think like you that, well, two bucks and they bet and nothing changed, nothing. But it changed a lot because in our retail network, it's a social network, but it's a genuine social network. People in the French cafe, they know themselves, they bet together, they have to share things together, and now they also have mobile phones to share what they do in real life
so
together.
they can share their betting, they can tell their friends what they've just bet on. And
yeah, it's a genuine social network, but they will share this genuine social network with their own digital social network. So it's an augmented reality. It's not a fake one. That's why new technologies can improve our business, either in the outlets rather than
if you're gambling in a casino and they notice you and they say, this guy's a big gambler, he's a good guy, let's send him a hotel room, or let's send him a drink, or let's send him free chips. Do you do those kind of things?
No. When we have a good punter, well, we give him gifts, bonuses and so, but we know him and we know exactly what he needs. And he needs good tips. He needs, for example, to see the race in the replay. He needs, for example, to have better information for the next bet, so that we have a special relationship with him, which is quite different than the old ancient gaming system.
Well, look, I mean, at the end of the day, we're talking here about the battle for attention. I mean, this is everybody in the media business. It's the same thing. There's only so many movies you can go to see a year. There's only so many things. You know, Jim, you guys in Hollywood, Jim, by the way, Titanic, Avatar, X-Men, Martian, Deadpool, lots of big monster movies that get a ton of attention. And they're designed to get attention. How do you guys all see the blockbuster versus, nickel and dime entertainment thing playing out?
It's nickel and dime doesn't come into it. Actually, many years ago, we came up with a very simple idea, which is very generic and very simplistic, and is certainly not the whole of our strategy, but it remains a guiding principle, and it was make it for somebody or make it for everybody. And when you think about that, it makes sense, and it doesn't describe the films. Well, in some ways it does. Films like X-Men, The Martian, Titanic, those are huge budget films, and they're made for everyone. What you didn't mention was a film like Fault in Our Stars, which was about two teenagers dying of cancer, made for $15 million, made $350 million worldwide, because there wasn't a girl or her mom and other people that didn't go see that movie. And it was a risky bet because it's about two young people dying of cancer that fall in love. But you can make it and take that risk for $15 million. My point is that there are films that fit certain demographic and psychographic audiences. And I think part of this democratization of content, as I see it, and part of what we've been talking about of accessing it and using social media and your ability to access people's tastes, their habits, their choices, what they're thinking and what they're feeling about culture and media and pop culture generally and what trends are happening, your ability to access that, your ability to use analytics, your ability to read that and read their thinking and understand it, those guide those choices. And especially when you're making choices, whether it's at the $15 million level for a difficult concept or at the $200 million level for a big movie, that's the kind of information you want, and that's the kind of feedback you want. The other thing about democratization, which is very interesting now for me and in general a trend in our business, is for the first time in almost 100 years, when the movie business started, and it was a great time, the people who ran the movie business owned the entire food chain. They owned the production, they owned the theaters, they owned the projectors, they owned the factories, they owned everything. And they owned the movie stars. So they could say to Cary Grant, you're going from stage 5 to stage 10, you're making this movie this week, that movie. That's been over for a long time for two reasons. One, scale, and the other, antitrust. So that's been gone for a long time. And what's happened is we've always had intermediaries, exhibitors, networks, paid platforms. For the first time, we're seeing a trend now where we can actually speak and sell and contact and have a relationship directly to our audience. That's part of that democratization. And what we're also seeing is that democracy is messy. You get a Brexit once in a while, but it's a really great idea. And so that's the way I see the trend happening. Our ability to speak to our customers, our audiences, to know what they want, to make things that fit different portions of our audience, the way you would in a healthy political environment, and the ability to deal directly with them.
Well, I mean, you want to go ahead, Jim?
I was going to say that I can't think of a better time to be sitting at the intersection of entertainment media and technology, because it is the first time we have, call it 2 billion active users on social networks around the world, going to 3, perhaps 4, depending on the timing of China. We have the mobile smartphones, which we know are now they number in the billion. We have extraordinary data analytics, and we have content developers who are using, whether it's the latest virtual reality techniques or thinking even ahead to what augmented reality will mean, to develop content that will be so important not only to Jim and Fox and television stations around the world, but there will be new forms of content that sit at the intersection of whether it's a short film, long television. We all know about the massive consumption of Netflix and others and how we think about series. All of this is a phenomenal opportunity right now, given the interdisciplinary sets, for entrepreneurs looking to build worldwide scaling businesses, often in partnership with 21st Century Fox and others, but building big standalone business that are worldwide next generation media opportunities. And that's what gets me so excited about the venture capital business today. I think teams, if we look at the combination of skill sets, the genius of Mark Zuckerberg, the genius of Sheryl Sandberg, I can't think of a better team running a major technology internet company in the world. That reinforcement that comes from the top in building and scaling many of these next generation businesses where virtual reality and many of these technologies sit at the heart of the next generation design of Facebook and social networks, those also represent phenomenal opportunities for entrepreneurs.
Now, I mean, one of the notable things about digital media is that people have had a very hard time getting people to pay for it. Okay, Facebook you just named has never had a paid service. I don't think. I might stand corrected on that. They might be thinking about it. YouTube is vaguely thinking, oh, maybe we could try it. But basically, the digital media environment has been, to the extent that they're real businesses, they've been entirely ad-supported. Whereas traditionally, ad-supported in some, radio was ad-supported traditionally, but Jim's entire career, nobody did ad-supported movies. It was always pay, I think. Or maybe TV, when they got to TV, right?
TV was.
Anyway, where do you see that playing out? I mean, for everybody. You know, I mean, obviously you're in a cash business, so the payments are not an issue in the betting world. But if we're going down this line, okay, people pay you, people don't pay you, people don't pay you by and large.
I pay the
in your okay, but let's use Facebook as your horse right now. So with your Facebook horse, they don't pay you, and Jim, people pay you. Where do you see everybody, the pendulum swinging in terms of free and paid?
Well, our clients, they pay for, they bet, but they need services. So that we have to invest, even if they're ready to pay for betting. We have blockbusters. Even a 2-minute horse races, when you win, it's a blockbuster for you. That's why we have to enhance the reality of this race. People who want to bet on a race, they have to get the possibility to see the race in a 3D dimension at the city.
So something like virtual reality is good for you.
Yeah, absolutely. We have to improve the reality of the race, to improve the experience of the race.
Right.
And when they bet, they will have more pleasure to bet because there is a huge experience.
So in other words, a better experience will cause them to bet more. Okay, okay. That makes sense. Okay, Bob, how about you?
Well, I think if you look at it, people are paying us all with their time. And then the question is, what are they
Which
willing?
they have more and more of all the time, so therefore they can pay you more and more.
So do they want to pay us money for it? I mean, if you look at Spotify versus iTunes downloads, it's a great difference in what people are using. That if you pay for something, you're going to be very particular about what you pay for. If, on the other hand, you're paying with just your time and you sit through advertising is your cost of it, they'll watch a lot more and a lot broader stuff that sort of is not the highest of their list, but sort of interesting. And I think with radio, we build relationships with consumers, and we define advertising as renting that relationship to an unaffiliated third party. And so they're willing to pay us to piggyback on that relationship. And it's like you're my good friend. I walk in the door with you, and I say, he's my good friend. That has a certain value. Putting a commercial in with someone who's a great friend has a certain value, and that's the way we make money. We could, and by the way, Sirius is doing a very good job of it, charging for radio. They have a much smaller usage base. The ratings are smaller. They probably have, like we had at AOL, as every subscription service does, probably double-digit percentage of people who never use the service but are happy paying for it. HBO, every subscription service has that. And so you're really dealing with a different dynamic. In one case, is it worth the money? And the other, is it worth my time?
Okay. Jim?
My thoughts on this, if you have the right organization, the right entrepreneurial energy, and entrepreneurial energy can exist equally at 21st Century Fox or the 6-person startup in my hometown of Menlo Park, California. What is fundamentally important is testing, retesting at an insanely fast pace what the monetization model is. It might be in some cases free, and as you continue to iterate, reiterate, there's a small monthly subscription for premium. It might be continue free and be pinpoint accurate with the advertisers. There are so many different models that can be used. The importance I find when I'm meeting with entrepreneurs around the world is the appreciation for going in, testing, retesting the model. And it used to be you could test and retest 3, 6 months, 9 months, and reiterate that feedback. Today, testing, retesting, modeling it into the service, improving the customer experience is, if not daily, it's certainly weekly.
So you're talking about bringing standard variety Silicon Valley techniques to Hollywood.
Well, I think it's broad. It's broader than that. I think if you think about Google's original business model was it was a superior search engine. People loved it, recognized it as a good search engine. They wanted services like AOL to pay them to use it. Instead, they came up with this other model of, wait a minute, we'll pay AOL, give us your search traffic, and we'll monetize it through self-serve advertising. and they completely turned it upside down. Same product, same desire for the consumer, but they changed the monetization model in the middle. And I think the first one would have been a very small business. This business turned it into the Google we know today.
Jim.
I'll offer, as we go to Jim, though, the other really fundamental part of making new investments successfully, or for entrepreneurs building these companies that sit at the intersection of what Bob said and what I've been alluding to. There are currently a number of due diligence items where we're looking at augmented reality. I'm looking at augmented reality, virtual reality technologies. And Jim and I and teams, large corporations, venture capitalists are working together to evaluate the business, working with the entrepreneurs, trying to pull together a different set of skills that will help operationalize many of the things we're talking about.
Well, first of all, I think it starts with the fact that great content and storytelling has been around since there are caves here in France that are prehistoric, to Aristotle, to James Cameron and Steven Spielberg and every great young filmmaker today. And I don't think that'll ever end, and I don't think anyone will stop enjoying it, and I don't think anyone will stop paying for it. Having said that, there's a wide band of value chain that now exists, from the most expensive IMAX screen to the commoditization risk that we have on the low end, and then, of course, the slippage called piracy that goes out the back, which is a much longer and separate discussion. But if we look at it, you can say, well, you know, libraries, content has been commoditized by the fact that subscription services offer a consumer a huge amount of content for a relatively low monthly price. Well, yeah. On the other hand, content owners are monetizing much more content than they ever did before. So these libraries that were sitting there are now sitting on many, many SVOD services. They're 50% of the homes in the US now have an SVOD service. Some of them have more than one. There are now 3 active competing SVOD services for every new show on television. So there's a vast new variety of business models and distributors and platforms on which content can be monetized and made available to consumers. And they, in turn, have a choice. You want to watch something for free? It's there. And do you want to be the only person that didn't see Deadpool on Monday morning at school? Be my guest. But you're probably not going to want to be. That's why it did $150 million the first weekend.
Well, okay, I mean, if you walk around this hall, actually, VR and AR are big themes here. Everybody's got them. I can see why Samsung and Sony want everybody to have VR and AR, because the machines are expensive and they can make a lot of money. Does anybody have a media business model other than maybe gaming? Okay, go.
Well, as Jim alluded to, we've made an investment. 21CF has made an investment in the ODG Group, which, if anyone was at CES, it is a pair of glasses, not much different than what you have around your neck, which is an augmented reality glass, which can put in front of you your email, can put what you're seeing in France, or can just make what you're seeing in France just sharper, as if you were wearing, vision glasses, or can cover them and put a 60-inch screen in front of your face, which is augmented reality and virtual reality. And it's in the, advanced beta stage now and being developed to be the next virtual reality.
So the idea would be this: you'd watch a movie on your glasses? Is
Absolutely.
Yeah, is it any good?
And in visual quality that is as good as sitting in front of a 60-inch screen.
And I think in the music business, it's been very hard in entertainment to capture the concert experience other than to be there.
Okay.
And I think virtual reality gives you the chance to do what you do in a concert, which look around, see everyone else's reaction, do something you'd like to do but very few people get to do, go backstage, wander backstage, see what's going on, get the inside scoop, watch the act before they go on. You pick your vantage point and the show is there. And I think that maybe translates to finally being able to capture a concert experience in a way we've not been able to with traditional video and TV.
Well, in fact, and he was already talking about me exactly in his business, being able to capture the reality of being at a racetrack without actually having to go to the Kentucky Derby, let's say, would obviously have a high value. Okay.
I remember of a famous race in France in 2008. It was a crazy race. A filly named Zarkava, which was very famous. She forgot to let the box at the departure of the race. She let the box, well, she quit the box 2 seconds after the departure. And she wins the race. It was impossible. It was impossible to win the race. She won the race. It was crazy. I would have wished to see this race, not at the classical TV network, but with augmented reality, to be at the seat of the jockey, or to have colors on the horse saying from green to red that she will lose, but she will win at the end.
Look, television is still kind of the elephant in the room. I mean, I'm sure in dollar terms, it's by far the biggest media thing. Bob, you were a famous pioneer of television. What do you think, now you're completely out of the game, so you can be a free man and say whatever you want. What do you think about television today?
Well, we still do a lot on TV with a lot of our programming partnerships, content. Look, TV has always been America's hobby. I think it will always be America's hobby. What's changed is that what we once thought of as TV being networks, advertiser supported, has been replaced by, in essence, on-demand, pay for it, subscription. Walmart came to town, and Walmart, then some people decide to buy their stuff from Walmart. It's called Netflix or Apple TV or whatever.
So is linear TV dead?
Well, no, I think it has a place, but I think it only has a place. In the days of MTV, we were the first network to create the image for the network, not the programs, because our observation was the network was just a delivery service for the program, and that's what people were really bonded to. And we were about 30 years too early. Today, you find people, they sort of don't care about the network, they care about the show. And if they can get the show on Netflix, they might rather pay for it on Netflix than get it free on television at a time they didn't want it, in a way they didn't want it. I have a 15-year-old, a 17-year-old, and a 33-year-old. The difference is my 15 and 17-year-olds have no idea that shows are on at a certain time on a TV network. They discover a show, and then they just say, How I Met Your Mother. I have no idea where that came from, but everybody's talking about it, so I'm just going to watch all those this weekend with my friends. Next week, we're going to devour, something like some monster, we're going to devour another show in binge viewing. But the show was made for the network. Probably the economics were dependent upon the network paying for it, but eventually, a lot of people are dropping out of that system. If you look at the latest Nielsen stuff, and I mean, I never would have thought it, total TV reach of linear TV is dropped from 95% to about 86%, and among millennials to just a little over 70%. And that's the impact of this. They still love TV, they just don't love it in the way you and I consumed it, and they don't want to wait till Monday night. I mean, the whole promise of cable networks when they came along was, the people didn't understand and say, who wants to watch news 24 hours a day? The answer is no one. But they want to pick and choose when they watch news from that 24-hour network. Now it's that on steroids with the choices we have today.
Jim G.
Yeah, I was going to point, I think that's a very good point. And I looked at that Nielsen study, and what I looked at was that what's been happening forever seems to keep happening, continue to happen, which is that they showed that the total consumption of media was an hour more than before, right? And traditional television actually didn't lose that much. The other media just picked up more. So what's happening is what's always happened. The pie's getting bigger.
Yeah, because people are getting more unemployed.
The legacy industries are losing more, and that's natural. And the new businesses are picking up more. But nevertheless, the pie is growing. And I think that's a sign of optimism, and it's also a sign of the continuation of an ecosystem which is healthy and which technology is driving, because it's affording more people more opportunities to use their time. So what's happening is, not only don't you have to sit down at 8 o'clock, but that 5 minutes that you were waiting before this started, somebody was watching something. Okay, and consuming some media, whether it was news or some Snapchat. And one day I went on Vine just to figure out what that was, and the next thing I knew, 10 minutes had gone by. So that's what it's all about.
And by the way, I think the point Jim brings up is very important, is that when we look at iHeartRadio, it's really, in essence, another radio. Our number one listening time is 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. in the morning, exactly the time people had to leave the radio when they got out of the car, and went to the office and they left radio. Now they continue radio by just putting the headphones in, and now they continue the experience. And I think it's exactly that. They're filling in these holes everywhere. There's not 1 second of your day that you're not consuming something with you.
So
I was going to offer 2 underlying trends which suggest to me the market for the transformation of the entertainment business is incredibly exciting as we sit here. One, I spend a lot of time on college campuses, and that's where a lot of the new ideas, the new investments arise. And whether it's Palo Alto, California, Cambridge, Massachusetts, the Sorbonne, Cambridge, England, Beida in China, there's a common theme. There is more media being consumed on a daily basis by students than ever before. The second I alluded to just now is China. China as an opportunity to build entertainment applications, entertainment media for Europeans or Silicon Valley startups. We're just beginning to see how enormous that will be. We know the high-level numbers, of course, but the underlying growth that we'll see over the next decade, given that we have a generation of media consumers who are 20, who are consuming more media. It might be Facebook Live, it might be different forms, but they're consuming more media than ever before. You add into that China, what a wonderful time to be an entrepreneur in the entertainment and technology business.
And the toughest thing is, how do you market that? It's great to create it. It's tough to market it because now you've got to look at all these choices people are doing and how many times do you need to touch them in a day to communicate it? What do you need to show them? What do you need to tell them? And I think that's, and now you get back to artificial intelligence, becomes very helpful in trying to figure out how you stitch all that together.
Well, but what happens? Let's run the trends out, okay? Everybody's got fantastic marketing machines that can target down to the tiniest person. Everybody's, that becomes, you get it from IBM Watson. In fact, David Kenny would love every media company in the world to be using IBM Watson to target every little thing. And everybody's using intelligence to create their content and to vet their stories and get the perfect cast and get the perfect everything. This is a very long, the famous rule of Hollywood, I think, was nobody knows anything, right? Isn't that the famous? So we're at one end of the goal, you have this thing with nobody knows anything, and basically every project you make is a gamble, and who the hell knows what's going to happen. Over here, in this corner, we have the super intelligent, digitized, siliconized machine spewing stuff that's perfect for everybody at all times. Something's got to give. I mean, there's
a difference between the artistic, creative process of making a movie and what I keep calling back to the democracy of the audience, and that's the vox populi. That they're going to tell you what they like, and they're going to tell you what they don't like. And the big difference lately, we have over the years we've developed systems and trends so that by Friday afternoon, and certainly by Friday night, what the end weekend figure is going to be. And now more and more over the past.
They're predicting.
Yeah, because they had predictive models because they've been doing it forever,
right.
And
they're pretty accurate.
Lately, many of us and all the studios and all the distributors have been releasing on Thursday night. So they built that into the predictive models. So this has been going on for a while. And what we've noticed in the past couple of years as social media has become so much more of an active force in people's lives, that all of those things have been thrown out and they have to be redone because the word spreads so much more quickly.
And the predictions were no good?
No good. So the predictions on Deadpool were about 70 or 80 million. It did 153. And predictions, I won't even talk about the predictions that went the other way, but predictions where you were supposed to do 60 or 70 or 50, you ended up with 30. Not just us, but others, because they said, nah, it's not that good. So, and the word goes out very quickly. So all of those predictive models where you built up all that marketing, thrust, all that momentum, the word spreads, and they've told you, and they've told their friends.
Well,
and
I guess who knows? Facebook is the ones that have that data. by
Well,
the way.
it's not. Yeah, it's not just Facebook. It's all the social media, and they're they don't trust anybody. Certainly not us as much as their friends.
I thought it was just Facebook.
Okay. Well, think about it. Facebook is now what 1.6 billion people. It'd be the
Right.
biggest. Facebook would be the biggest country on earth if it were a country.
Right.
So-
But they also know what every citizen is doing all the time.
Yeah.
It's actually better than that. So no government in the world, in their wildest dreams, knows what everybody's doing and what they're saying to each other, except those guys. So that's actually, let's leave that as a lot. It's a Facebook and Google world. We just live in it. Is that?
That's kind of sort of true.
We're not getting into that. We're a simulation discussion, are we?
Captain Mark, tell us what to do. What I can tell you is that we are counting down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and so you guys have been a great, fun panel that has saved me from a life of drudgery back in the other room there. So thank you very, very much, all.